Hey, what's up guys, Jesse here. Today we have another tutorial for you. This one is mainly going to be on the basics of Adobe Premiere. So I know there's a lot of you out there that are working with iMovie, Windows Movie Maker, GoPro Studio, GoPro Quick, all of those. And they're pretty basic, but you can't get the results you want out of it, or you've just mastered those programs and you're ready for the bigger, badder ones. So today we're going to go through Adobe Premiere. There are other programs like Final Cut Pro. Those are only on Mac, and I've played around with it a little bit, and it's pretty much the same thing as Adobe Premiere, but you don't have all the other capabilities of the other Adobe programs that you can simultaneously use within Premiere, like After Effects, Photoshop, Lightroom, all of that. The main thing I want you guys to get out of this tutorial is to be able to effectively edit on the timeline, use all the tools, be able to find the effects library, and just make a simple, quick edit. The main thing I want to get out of this is just a simple, quick, easy edit. And for you to be able to use all the tools, effects library, color grading, we'll get into, and just go from there. So let's get started. So first thing I want to do is open up Adobe Premiere. Okay, once Adobe is open, click New Project, title it Tutorial, all of this stuff you don't have to worry about. And then when it loads up, this will be the main editing template that you will get from the Adobe program. This is all customizable, so what that means is all of these little things, like you have your media browser, libraries, info, effects, you can customize where you want them by just clicking and dragging them. Normally, I like my effects up here in its own little panel, so I can always have them open. Then next we'll have source, effect controls, audio. Main thing I use is just effects controls, effects, my project library right here. This is the panel for all of your tools. This is the panel for your timeline where all of your videos will be for you to edit and slice. And then this will be your preview. Now, up here you'll notice there are other words such as color, effects, audio, libraries. What these are different templates for if you want to color correct. This will be your color correcting template. Next you have like the effects tab. It's just more generated for effects, but in reality, it's the same thing as my editing tab. I've just put the effects from over here to over here because I like having this big window for my video preview and then a big window for my timeline. So for the most part, we're going to stay in the editing template. Alright, so next we're going to add video files to your project. And to do that, all you have to simply do is just go to a folder with your videos, click, hold, drag them into your timeline until it says copy, release, and then it'll automatically import the files into your timeline and then make the sequence exactly what the file format is. So I think this file format is 60 frames per second, so it's going to instantly make the timeline 60 frames per second. But you can also change that in sequence settings up here if you want it to be 24 frames per second, 25, whatever your heart's desires. You can change the actual format of it, so you can have anything you want. You can have 4K, you can have 1080p, you can have 720p, red camera cinema, whatever your heart's desires. I normally just like to keep it exactly how it was so it doesn't mess anything up. Next, we're going to go through just what the timeline is. So you have right here your 3 video bars and then your 3 audio bars. You can get more if you want, but normally you don't go higher than 3, but sometimes in big projects you can get up to 5 or 6, just depending on if you have titles, adjustment layers, color correcting layers, things like that. So with each layer you can stack video on top of it. So what that means is if you have a video in video 1 right here, and then you have a video in video 2, once the marker hits the video 2, it's gonna overcome what's in video 1. But normally what this type of cascading video is good for is when you want to put titles such as sequence titles. You can put lower thirds boxes that pop up with people's names on them. things like that. So for the main part, most of your video is going to stay on the main video 1 timeline. Now, so the same thing with audio. You have audio 1, audio 2, audio 3. And you can move your audio from your clips to here. But normally what I like to do is just keep all of my videos, audio files in audio 1. And if I'm not using them, still keep them there just in case at the end of the video I want to put some sound effects in it. But while I'm editing, I'll normally just mute everything, and to mute that, all you gotta do is push the M button. Next, we're gonna talk about what the timeline is. So mainly what you can see is you have like this whole space where you can put all of your video clips. This little thing down here, you can shrink so it zooms in on your clips so you can see like the exact frames and just move up and down by frames. Or you can zoom it all the way out so you can see your entire project, and it just makes things easier when you're trying to grab footage from another area and dragging them in. Next, we're going to go over the tools. So tools, we have the type tool, so you can click that or push T. Each tool has its own hotkey, so when you click it, you can either do like T or you can do Control T, which is its hotkey. So it just speeds things up along, which I know all the hotkeys, so it makes just the process of editing way faster. But all you have to do to put on text is just click anywhere you want, type whatever you want, click back to the selection tool so it gets you out of typing, and then you can drag it wherever you want, put it there, and then notice when you made that, it made this little pink box, and what that is just your text. So this is a good example of how you can have things overlapping each other. So you'll have the text tool over this clip, but then once that clip ends, the text goes away. So you can easily just click and drag, make it longer by just clicking the edge, or you can make it shorter by shrinking it like that. Simple. So next we have the hand tool. There's really not much that this does besides just navigating through your timeline. But like I said, the same thing you can do by just clicking on this bar down here. Next you have the pen tool, and this is more of an advanced tool that I only use for masking. But if you just simply click and drag it, you can create a shape with your pen. Don't really know what you would create a shape for, but when you're masking certain things, it helps a lot. So that's more for an advanced tutorial. We won't touch on that right now. So the slip tool, what this does is, I don't use it that often because I can easily do it without using it. So imagine shortening a clip like this and putting it in the middle of these two clips, but I don't like what's right here. So what you can do is you can use the slip tool and you can drag through the remainder of that clip that you shortened, and it'll fit whatever you have in this space. So if I want that a little further ahead, I can click and drag it and it'll go further ahead. If I want that a little more back, I can click and drag it, and then we'll have this footage. So it's kind of useful, but it just, I feel like confuses things a lot, so I don't tend to use it. Now this razor tool is the one I mainly use with the pointer tool. So it's just simple, click wherever you want, cut. And then if you don't want that cut, delete it. So this combined with the pointer tool, their hotkeys are C and V, so they're right next to each other. So you can easily just navigate, click C, pause it with the space bar, cut it right there, push V to switch back to the pointer, click, delete. Easy. Another good way, so you don't have to keep clicking and dragging videos like I'm doing, is right click in between them over the black space and it'll say ripple delete, and it'll collapse all the video back onto the most recent clip. And then next we have track forward tool, and all this does is it's kind of useful if you want to just get all your clips and then drag them over, so it just, wherever you point, it just grabs every clip that's ahead of that. So next we're going to talk about adding audio files. To do that, all you simply have to do, go to iTunes or one of your folders and just click and drag a song in and drop it. And it's there. It's pretty easy to get used to the program. It's going to take some time of just playing around with it and getting used to the editing process compared to, iMovie and things like that. But they are very similar in a lot of ways. So it shouldn't be that difficult to transition. You just can't get overwhelmed with all of the effects and presets. And like when you right click a clip, you have all this stuff that pops up. I'm going to be honest, you barely use any of this. So you don't have to worry about it. So next, I'm going to go over some pretty easy presets and transitions and things like that that you can put in your videos that just make it simple and easy that you could do in. Next, we're going to talk about some simple transitions that Adobe Premiere gives you, transitioning through your videos, so that's like dissolves and crops and things like that. So with video transitions, you can click this. Now, I mainly only use the dissolves because the rest of them are kind of cheesy, like an iris. Okay, whatever. Yeah, like look at that. No one actually uses transitions like that except for news channels. So the main one that I use is cross dissolves, additive dissolve, dip to white, dip to black. And what cross dissolve does is when you put it on two clips, what you do is you click and drag it onto the clips. Zoom in a little bit so you can see what's going on here. And what it does is it fades each clip into the next. So right as it's going, you can see the next clip starting to fade in, and it rightfully does so. So all it does is add a nice simple effect. I mean, obviously it's not going to look good on this footage because I haven't edited it through yet, but for just simple transitions for commercials, real estate, things like that, this is the main effect that you're going to be using. It's just easy. Now that you know one simple effect that you can use for transitions and all of the transitions like it, we're going to talk a little bit about color correcting, and we're just going to go over the very basics of color correcting. So what you're going to do is type in your effects panel, Lumetri color, click, add it to your clip. Because when you're filming, your camera normally records a very flat picture, mainly because it wants you to color correct it in post-production. You'll have your effect controls, and if you scroll down, you have Lumetri color right here. And what this is it gives you the basic correction. We're not going to go over any of this except for basic correction. So if you scroll down, ignore the LUT stuff. This will give you contrast, highlights, shadows, exposure, blacks, whites, saturation, easy. So all you have to do to buff the contrast a little bit, because it's flat, is just click and drag until you like it. Around there is good. You can pull the highlights if you really want. You can take the highlights down depending on what type of mood you want. I'll pull it like that. Shadows, normally pulling the shadows will make it flat again, but you can get a better image if you pull the shadows and then really crank the contrast. So now you'll have a little more definition. Sorry, we're zoomed in on this dude's butt. This is just simple color correcting, and what you can do once you have the look you like, you can go up to the Lumetri color. You can copy and paste it, so Control C or Command C, whichever, Mac or PC. And then what you can do is you can go to all of your clips and then Command V, so paste it on top of all of them. So another thing I want to touch on is when you're clicking on one of your clips, in this effect controls window is going to be all the things that you can manipulate within that clip. Now this can be a little intimidating because there's a lot of numbers and a lot of things that you can move around. Okay. Thank you. There's a lot of things that you can move around and manipulate, and all they do is just manipulate positions, and any effects that you have put onto this clip you can now customize further and make it however you want, which is the best part about Adobe, is that you can just further customize after adding such basic things to make it actually unique and like an expert transition or whatever. So next we have the position. So this is on the y-axis. You can move your clip. Normally you want to keep it dead center, and this is the x-axis, so up and down. Sometimes you have to manipulate. If you have like 4K footage, you only want a section of it, you can move it around like so you only have that section, but obviously it's 4K. Next we have the scale, so you can make it smaller or bigger. Again, with 4K footage, you're going to be cropping in a lot of times just to get exactly what you want. So that's where it's used. Rotation, I normally use rotation sometimes on certain effects, or when you film on a drone, sometimes the gimbal isn't perfectly level with the horizon, so you have to rotate it a little bit, and then also scale up so it fills the frame and you don't get the black cut off parts. Next we'll have anchor points, don't have to worry about that. Opacity, you can change the opacity of the video if you wanted. You could put this on top of another video and it kind of gives that cool effect of just like two videos on top of the other. Obviously it looks chaotic right now, but you know what I mean. Next we have speed, but we won't talk about that. There's a lot of things that can happen with speed depending on if you filmed at the right frame rate, but we'll go over that at another time when we speed ramp and things like that. And then finally you have your audio effects, so that means your level, and you can make it very loud or just dampen the whole thing so you can't hear it at all. So I hope this tutorial was a little bit helpful. I know Premiere can be a very complex program, but there's a lot that it can offer, and the only way to get better at it is just keep trying and keep editing on it and just force yourself to get better. Please let me know in the comment section if there's anything else that's more basic that I can help you with. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.